If you would just say your name and then the agency you're with, and your question, and it was directed to that, great.
I'm Gene Quinn, I'm a GC. My question is, with regard to the content types that were mentioned earlier, specifically the location content type and the event content type, are those content types that you guys authored in-house for your existing clients, or are they part of a Drupal module? Are they something that's available readily? I wasn't familiar with those.
That's a really good question, Jim. The event content type was part of the open public distribution. We may have tweaked it a little bit over time, but I know that the base came out of that. The location content type is one that we developed in-house based on requirements. I think we're actually working with federal GSA to see if we can sort of set something up that's standardized for people that aren't on our platform also.
Right.
But currently it's just on the platform.
Okay, so as an agency, would that code be available for me to use? We're running Drupal 7 right now. Would that be available to me, or do I have to wait for that to evolve further?
I would say let's talk. We're working on evolving it. I wouldn't want to hand it off to you before it's fully complete and the things we're working on right now, but let's talk about if we can do something to collaborate.
Thank you.
I have two questions. One, I'm Leslie Fryman. I work for the Department of Public Health as a content creator in environmental health. Our agency just came out with a new policy that at the bottom of every page it has to say last updated and the date that it was updated, and they won't approve it unless you update that. Is there a way to automate that? Why can't Drupal just automatically put that at the bottom of a page when you republish it?
Also a really good question. And I think we've had that question from y'all and a couple other agencies as well. We've explored it in the past, and the problems that we've run into is that not every agency wants it. So then we have to turn it on do we turn it on for all pages on one site? Do we turn it on for specific pages of one site? What if you just go in to change how, like fix a misspelling? You don't want that to show as last updated if you didn't update all the content. And so because there's so many different sort of, use cases and roadblocks, it would be such a cost for us to build something that you could then go in and check a box every single time whether or not you wanted it to update that date, that we said it's probably going to be easier for you guys and more cost effective to just manually change that date when you want the date to change. Does that make sense?
My other question is about file management. I haven't seen anything come out that has a standardized way of naming files, and our website has just become this massive dump of files that are so misorganized, so mismanaged, misorganized, misfiled. Things are so out of date. And speaking of, deleting content, there's so much on there that's searchable via Google that shouldn't be online anymore because it's outdated. And I don't know, maybe you've sent something out that says, here's exactly how you should standardize your file names, and is there any protocol for that?
We do have a web guide, and then I'm going to make someone else answer the next one. We do have a web guide that tries to walk you through some of that managing your files, because I think we talked over lunch, that's a very common problem. Every agency does tend to have its own rules for how they want to organize their files, and if there's file naming conventions, each agency should be able to manage that sort of from an internal agency policy perspective. That said, we do have a web guide that gives some tips and tries to walk you through. Part of that is that when you're replacing an old file and it has a different name, you want that old one to go away, you do need to go into the back end and manually delete it, or else you're right, Google will find it forever until you actually removed it.
And just to add to that, this is a classic case of like how your content gets away from you, right? Because there is no one to actually keep a tab on how many versions of a certain document are being uploaded. The platform allows you to upload multiple documents just for the fact that sometimes there might be a use case for that. But there is no harm in just kind of taking a look at, all right, what all do we have? And there is up to a certain extent we can help you with it as far as kind of showing you that landscape of like, these are the PDFs that you have, and at any point, you can then come up with like an internal policy for naming them. Like, that's not something that the platform would dictate, but it's a good idea to have that, to have maybe the date or something else, in the file name itself. But that is something, again, we have a bunch of help out on our site already in form of web guides, but we'll be more than happy to kind of work with you on this particular thing.
And that's up for everyone. If you go to interactive.georgia.gov and the support tab, there's a web guide section.
My name is Paula Buchanan. I'm a graduate research assistant with the Information Technology and Outreach Services Division of the Carl Vinson Institute of Government. So it's a lot. So we actually do a lot of work with data visualizations, and we've used Infographic, which I think you mentioned. We've used Tableau. Now we're using Qlik, and we're very happy with Qlik. And you guys had just mentioned that Drupal has a database tool called DKAN. If anyone's ever worked with Tableau or Qlik here, can you let us know if those tools work well in the sandbox with DKAN or they don't, or any issues that you've seen?
I can attempt. So DKAN is mostly a data repository. It's not a visualization tool. It comes with its own set of visualization options, but you could very well use Tableau on top of DKAN. And that's one of the reasons why we chose to use DKAN was we were not just looking for like a one-off tool that can visualize your data, but we were also looking for the centralized repository where agencies can then all come together and kind of say, all right, I'm going to keep my data set here, and then eventually, occasionally update it. But on top of that, based on how you want to visualize it, you can partner that with any other tool. Yes, I don't quote me on that, but that was one of the names that was tossed when we were talking about what else can we do with DKAN. Because the visualization options for DKAN are kind of limited because that's not their expertise. But their expertise truly is like a common repository. And then based on that, you could use whatever, like a very specific mapping tool for GIS purposes. You could do that. They have a pretty decent kind of starting point. And the project that we worked on, we just used DKAN visualization tools. But yeah, if you have a certain use case that requires you to use Tableau, you can partner with that.
And how does it work with the Esri product? Does it work well?
I'm sorry?
With the Esri products, like ArcGIS?
We haven't worked with DKAN and Esri, but I know GFI here said that have you used Esri before?
Yeah.
Or any of So yeah, we'll probably see how that works along with other products. We're just starting out with that. Sure.
Sure. So part of the big value of DKAN is that it allows you to normalize your data following the open data standards that the government has published. And so much of data is in different formats, in PDFs and CSVs. By normalizing it in one place and exposing APIs, you're kind of future-proofing yourself in terms of the tools on the output side that you want to use for visualizations.
Hi, I'm Benita Brown, and I'm with the Council of Juvenile Court Judges, and I'm a baby in this, so bear with me. We are using Drupal, but we sit on the Administrative Office of the Courts servers for GeorgiaCourts.gov. Can we still utilize your services? Or do I have to go through the AOC?
Yeah, are you talking about services as far as web hosting is
Help,
concerned?
help me with my content, refreshing our pages and all that other stuff. I'm with the Council of Juvenile Court Judges, and we go through the Administrative Office of the Courts whenever we
Yeah,
have.
I don't see why not. We can, yeah, definitely. We'll be more than happy to, explore this further. There's definitely a billing aspect that comes with our services, but we will be happy to help you in general by sharing some of the resources, whatever we have, to at least get you a start. But we'll be happy to help you out.
Okay.
Anything that makes yours look better.
Okay, so who will I contact?
Support.georgia.gov.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I don't know if this is a Drupal limitation or our agency limitation, but there's only 2 user rights. Either you're admin and you can delete the whole site in 2 seconds, or you're a content creator and you really can only create content and you have no ability to access some of the, like to add navigation and some other things that you might want to add to your pages. So is that because that's our agency, or is that a Drupal limitation, or are there different multiple levels of sort of admin access available?
We actually have there's two main ones, like you said, there's a creator who can edit and create new content but cannot publish it themselves or delete anything, and then there's an editor who they can control any sort of content and menus. We also have a couple, like there's a user manager, and usually each agency has one user manager who can create new ones. So it's, I wouldn't say the admin level, we don't have admin level opened out because it is where you can accidentally, like delete all stuff on your homepage or whatever. But mostly it's the editor and creator. For, I'd say 95% of our agency users that seem to meet all of the use cases, every once in a while there is a request of, can we get something in between? And to this point, like, we've thought about it, we've talked about it, we haven't really built out anything else, again, because of the cost, and that's an additional step of testing every single time we do a release every month. That's like one more user case that we have to test to make sure it's still working. That said, if we have an agency with the need and we kind of build it all out and they're willing to pay for that additional work, we're happy to work on that.
Tommy Kelly with the Georgia Board of Physician Workforce. I'm interested in using webforms, but you say that there's no backend right now that plugs into an output source. Is there any future work on maybe Azure or some other maybe simplified database that we can use internally to collect that data?
And we do have a export function that you can export all the collected data, but you're talking about like real-time synchronization?
Yeah, that would be nice, but any option we have, but it would be nice that would be something that we could use. I mean, we're a smaller agency.
Mm-hmm.
Most people come on and use the form as a one-to-one. You guys can come in, we need that data, I want to store that data.
Yeah.
So, what other, of course I'm open to take to see what options are available, what are you using right now for export?
And this is a classic case where this is a use case for a certain agency or multiple agencies. This is something that would get on our radar for next releases. So yeah, we definitely open a ticket, and we can take a closer look at that.
One last question, just really a housekeeping thing. This is my second department working with Drupal, and this department, everybody really works with it, looks at the back end, we load the content. You have related files, and you have the old files that may have came from that B system. Is there any idea that's going to get cleaned up to something maybe more simplified folders? Because I'm finding files everywhere. I'm having to look through a whole bunch of files to try to find the content that may have already been loaded, and I may be double loading content just to correct the site.
Are you talking about PDF files
Well,
or?
just your file system that drops down on the side. You have your division, then you have your CSS, JSS, related, older files.
Right. Yes, you're talking about like where the PDFs and images and all of that.
Correct. I'm looking, okay,
Yeah.
so I've made a link, I'm
Yeah.
loading the file, and so I get that drop down menu upload, and I get these multiple folders. And it's just that it's, when you go to the new house, I don't know how they were storing it, and I'm finding files everywhere. And I just
Right.
wondered if that was, if you were thinking about cleaning that up, or there's been no real big issue to deal with that.
I'd say that kind of goes back to what Leslie was talking about with her PDFs everywhere, right? And so we've always tried to stress that we shouldn't be using Drupal as a data or document management system, and yet we do find that everyone does. Like you said, when we're migrating everything over, we have thousands of PDFs, we migrated everything, right? And it's a huge lift. So it's something that we recognize that it's a pain point. We haven't come up with a great solution for how to mitigate that yet. But again, it's one of those that keep talking to us, and if we know that it's a higher priority, we'll start pushing towards what we can do about it.
I have a question about content. We struggle with the need for the taxpayer to be able to understand what they need to do, and I think the need to be legal and proper and everything else. Do you have any suggestions on how we can manage content that way?
That's a good question. Yeah, because there's certain legal ramifications you have to abide by, and no one understands what those things are. Doing a translation, I mean, almost like Google Translate. Putting the legal mumbo jumbo first, and then what this means to you is, I've seen that done quite a few times of trying to put it in layman's terms, whatever the legal speak is. So you know, it's repeating content, but it also gives the user a way to understand what they don't understand.
And is there a benefit to, like, I hate to increase the number of pages, but I also think sometimes it's just way too much information. So, I mean, is it helpful to break it out into really small sections so it's not so overwhelming, or?
I think in that case, it would probably be okay to put it on the same page, just because they're related. Because you wouldn't want to have it on two different places and have people think that they're two different interpretations. For something like that, I would keep together.
One thing I'll add, I've seen a similar challenge, for example, the District of Columbia and their Department of Regulatory Affairs, where people go to get business licenses. It's the same type of confusion. There's a tremendous amount of regulatory language, and the way they're addressing that is by focusing on the users, just like the speakers have been talking about, trying to design from the outside in rather than the inside out. And if you go to, I think it's business.dc.gov, it's broken out in kind of almost a wizard format where it gives you a choice. Okay, I am someone who is wanting to start a new business in the District of Columbia, and it'll take you through content in a certain order so that you know what you need to do. And that's going to be different from someone who maybe has a business already and needs to renew a license. That's a lot of inspiration, I think, you can find on that site.
With the web form, we use the web forms. They're very handy, but I don't think, are they secure? Like when we do an export and we bring data into our system, as far as when it gets onto the web form from your portal or your interface, you know, we make the web form, somebody gets on the web form, enters data. How are you keeping that data safe in the web form? Because we might, we might not use it for everything that we want to use it for, but we are using it now, we just don't know if it's safe.
Right. So your typical web form is not encrypted at all. There is an option that we built out just a couple years ago because of agency need that you can set a secure web form. From there, it stores the information in a different spot, and you can also control which content editors can actually access it and download that information. That said, it's not good for PII, for personally identifiable information.
Okay, so that might be something you could work on, because I think everybody here would take use of it if it was safe, because any data that we get, we want it to be safe. We can't use something if it's not safe, from an interface standpoint, because the ordinary web user is they're just people, they don't even know if it's safe. So we have to make sure it's safe.
Yeah, there definitely is a challenge with that, because when we started out, we wanted to have this web platform as just public-facing data, and also what we collect information really should be something that is not sensitive or classified. And we always talk to agencies about making sure that the users don't enter any information that otherwise would be identified. But again, if there are going to be specific use cases where you would need to do that, we can explore that, because just the fact that we're still hosting it in the cloud, that doesn't mean it's not secure, it's not safe, but still there might be some policies that might dictate that, maybe that particular instance, you might need to use something else to capture that data.
Yes, I mean, I wouldn't think anybody would want to use it unless they knew it was safe, no matter what kind of data they're putting in there. So I don't know what it was designed for, if we can't use it for data entry or for the interface. What is a web form supposed to be used for?
Primarily, most of the agencies use it for some basic communications, some basic, correspondence. When the conversation gets to getting some very specific PII information from the users, and they typically move on to an application type of communication, where then you're not just asking for something, but you're also providing them something based on what you're asking for. So Normally, if you're just asking for something that's sensitive information, then you probably need to rethink like why you're asking it in the first place. But yes, if you have a need where you're asking for certain sensitive information and then giving them something back, then you're looking for a functionality that's beyond a web form. That's more of a web application.
Yeah, we have web applications, but I just wanted to understand what you were doing with that one more.
I really appreciate you asking this question because what it exposes is the fact that anytime you're working with software and people, it's a shared security model. There's no way to secure end-to-end everything just at the technology level. There's always a people component of this. And so while the platform may provide functionality like SSL encryption on administrative web pages or even regular web pages, I'm not sure if you're doing that, where traffic is encrypted from the browser to the web server, or you're storing information in an encrypted database, that doesn't prevent someone from typing in a social security number or a driver's license number or something into a form. It doesn't prevent a content manager from defacing a page or using an insecure password. And so that shared security model is something that through the governance and the training and policy that these guys provide can help you all be as secure as possible with your own websites.
My name is Anishri calling. I'm from Georgia Department of Public Safety. This question is for Rachel. You designed the video for GMA. Is there any extra cost associated with it if you want to have that for our website?
You mean like in terms of if I was working on it? We haven't quite figured out what kind of cost this would be yet. It takes extra time, definitely, so I'm sure that yes, it would be an additional cost. But yeah, that would be more of we'll figure that out. If you put in the ticket, if you're interested in that, then we'll figure something out.
Just a comment, I think that'll be beneficial for the group, and then a question for Dan. I've heard a lot about content and how to make your content work well for people visiting your site, and been doing public affairs probably for about 15 years now. In the past couple of years, I've come across a resource that I think is just phenomenal for making your content easy to read, easy to understand. So just when you get back to your office, Google Ann Wiley, Right for Readability, and she just has tremendous resources and suggestions on how to make your content easy for people to understand. Short words, short sentences, short paragraphs, use bullets, use headers, break the content out. Just make it easy to digest, and I think that'll make a big improvement in everyone's content. I know it has an orange. It works not only for websites, but it works for letters, it works for brochures, it works for really across the board when it comes to content. The question I had was about the FedRAMP certification, and we use cloud services outside of the website for some of our other servers and that sort of thing at GeorgiaGov. So I guess you're saying the services we use for the cloud should have that FedRAMP certification, or that's recommended?
It's recommended. I don't think there's a mandate for states to do that, but states tend to follow the lead of the federal government, and that's a mandate for federal government. So if you go to FedRAMP, I think it's, FedRAMP, I forget the website. It's FedRAMP something.gov. You can Google FedRAMP and you'll find it. You can see a list of all the compliant providers that are infrastructure providers, platform providers, and SaaS providers. And it's certainly something that, in addition to just the assurance, it can save you time as well, because you can inherit all those controls all the way up to the platform or the SaaS level, and then the only diff that you would need to certify for your organization is the application itself. So it's a big money saver and time saver as well.
It's just a good idea, right? Because all the sites on the platform are powered by Google, the Google Search Appliance, and that does not sit with the rest of the servers on the cloud. But the host that we chose to host our Google Search Appliance is also FedRAMP compliant. And not many data centers can actually claim that they are. It's a pretty stringent process to kind of go through the compliance certification. So yeah, so if possible, absolutely.
Something y'all mentioned at the very beginning was the data visualization moderation tool. Is that something available now, or is that something?
It is available now. We are working with 2 agencies at this point. So yeah, open the ticket.
Is it like something extra,
Yes, yes. So it is a separate tool. This is not part of the core platform offering. Though it's Drupal based, it is still a separate tool. We have a different vendor who we deal with. So what has been happening is, based on what your requirements are, we can see if we can create something out of the box with our existing implementation. If not, then we get the vendor involved in it, and they have to do some customizations. So again, based on what you're looking for, the engagement might be something that we could accommodate in the near future, or we need to get somebody involved in it. There will be obviously some costs associated with it, so it's always good to kind of at least find out what it's going to be, and that's how it's been happening with now we have like 3 agencies that are working with actively on that. Like they told us what they're looking to do, we scoped it out, we told them they budgeted, and then we move forward.
Yeah, I think about EPD every time we start talking about data, because I know y'all have a lot of it. And that's just, all of y'all have so much information, so much data out there, and it doesn't mean anything to anyone unless we visualize it, right? Rachel's talking about just the infographics, but also, you visualize that information, and it's gonna help drive policy, right? That's huge. But because of that, it's also, each section is its own little unique snowflake that takes a little bit more than just like throwing it up and pushing a button. So there's going to be some more costs associated, but definitely let's talk.
So I have a question for the panel. Based on each of you have different responsibilities and different roles. What would you say the biggest benefit working with us would be from your different perspectives? The biggest benefit for the agency.
Starting with me. Well, I kind of touched upon this like in my talk, but I guess the biggest benefit of using the platform is that a lot of the stuff you just don't have to worry about, and also you're part of the community already because your content and whatever that you would wish to share is so easily now available for say Georgia Gov to aggregate, or going forward. We also want to be pursuing like content sharing across agencies, because there are like so many opportunities at this point that we can avail of going forward, where right now we have, for example, like the emergency, right, where if there's an emergency, like we have an emergency content type where in one place we just kind of enable it and it shows up on the entire platform. So there are many things like that where you can just kind of decide to create and share across the platform, the overall visibility of it. And again, that just leaves you to worry about your strategy, your content, your message. You don't have to worry about anything else. I think for me, that would be like the biggest draw is any new feature that somebody requests and we work with them to create it, you automatically get it. So, I'm not saying like wait until everything's done, but it just keeps getting better. It just keeps getting better, because where we started from, we are way, way ahead of where we are today. And also with so many more sites using awesome things. So yeah, I would say the best part is just this whole ecosystem, right? We have built this ecosystem now, it's a community. And I think all of us being together on this platform is only going to make it better.
You stole my answer. No, but just to reiterate quickly. So that shared innovation, right? If 1 or 2 agencies say, hey, we need to be able to do this, and we've got some budget we can put forward to do that, then everybody benefits from that. So we're saving taxpayer dollars, we're all helping each other out. And again, things like the accessibility, that how many people are on our platform and never even thought about accessibility for your site, and one day you just found out it was all done for you, right? From the technology side, not the content. Obviously, you also have to do your content. So that's the one. The other is, again, that partnership where we will help you think through the strategy of your content as well. It's just as important to us, because the infrastructure means nothing if your information isn't getting through to constituents. So we're only here to empower all of you.
Yeah, what they said. I'd also add that you have extra security and resiliency from a proven cloud platform that hosts some of the most sensitive and intense digital properties in the world. And you really have the support structure around you from this community. It's inspiring to me, and if I was an agency, I really want to be able to be a part of that, not just so that I can avail myself of that support, but that I can become an active contributor as well and help my state.
I would say the breadth of knowledge that we have in terms of state government. Akil, you've been here, what, 10, 12 years? Kendra? 9. I just celebrated, if you said, I guess you can say celebrate, 25 years. So we know what goes on in state government. We've been got a lot of experience with working with state government. Know your pain points because we're part of the same overall team. At the same time, we've got a lot of new people who know the latest trends, the latest goings on in information technology and in web design, and so it gives us a good balance, I think, of working with agencies and having that state government experience, and also having a new outlook on things that from the outside. And plus, we're very cheap, state employees, so we don't get paid a lot, so our hourly rate is quite low.
I would just say it's helpful that, like, you guys are the content experts. You know what your agency does, and you know what people need to know from your agency, and so we're just here to kind of help you distribute that. So you don't need to necessarily worry about the technology aspect of it, the design, I don't know, like all of that stuff that we handle. You don't need to worry about that, and so I think that's just a good benefit, that you can focus on what you're an expert in, and we can handle the rest.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it. Were they good or not? Round of applause.